We've passed a bill twice to replace the sequester. It's time for the president and Senate Democrats to do their job.
They ought to be worried. On the other hand, these cuts are going to occur. Now, the real choice here is simply, do you want cuts to be redistributed in other ways, which is the sensible things to do, or do you want to let this happen?
The Republicans will do nothing, and they should do nothing, and demand, if the president wants to avoid this, you do the cuts, but do them somewhere else.
Now, Republicans, conservatives, as you can hear, they're not exactly afraid of the sequester. And as you heard from our Politico interview, that we did earlier with you, got some Republicans actually rooting the sequester on, thinking they'll get more of what they want, even if the overall impact is a negative one. And joining us now on our panel is Ryan Davis, veteran of the Howard Dean campaign and executive director of social innovation at Blue State Digital. Ryan, welcome to the program. Okay. We talked about the dollars and cents, and you cannot overhype that this is a bad thing. Yes, it won't all happen immediately, but Andrew did a good job of laying out that it's not a quarter of a percentage point. You're talking 7+%, even more when you factor in the ancillary costs that this thing will have. It's going to go into bone. This isn't just cutting away fat here. This is, and it's across the board. So then the question becomes politically, is this, forget about a dangerous game, is this a dumb game to play? I'll argue, well, I think this is bad for America, for Republicans. They've been on defense here really since that first debate where the president screwed up in Denver. Everything that they've been being reactive rather than proactive. This is the first issue, as stupid as I think it is, that they have the leverage on. And if they capitulate now, they're playing once again into the president's hands. Now, I don't think this is good for America, but I got to think Republicans say, we got the president over a barrel here. We don't like the defense cuts, but you know what? We're getting the other cuts we wanted here, and he's got to come to us rather than the other way around. Do I have it right?
That's the thinking behind it. I mean, it's up to the president to make the final determination what he wants to do. He is the commander-in-chief, and we voted for him. In the House members, and especially the Republicans.
Might not have, but yeah.
That's private, okay? That's private. But the reality is that they're playing chicken. I think that they do have leverage, but I believe that it could backfire on the Republicans if it lasts more than, let's say, a week, week and a half to 2 weeks. There are going to be people that are going to be very upset that they're not getting the checks that they need to be able to put food on the table.
But within the FEMA party, though, there are some that look at this as a strategy question, right, and say there's leverage here and what can we exact. But then I think there's others who are saying, hey, that accelerator, push it down all the way, pin the sucker, because let's go over. They want to go. They want to do it. Like we saw with other fights here. There are elements of the Tea Party, or there's the Tea Party, that says, you know what, I want to play with fire here. I want to do this because I want to send a message here. And how does Boehner control that part of the caucus? Because even if he gets concessions from the president, for them, that's not enough.
Well, first of all, he can't. And Cantor's very powerful, and the Tea Party folks have already proven that if you go against them, they're going to vote you out of office. So I think he's sort of strapped in along for the ride. It's sort of like, you know, driving those defensive driving classes where the other guy has the steering wheel, and that's basically Cantor driving this thing, and Boehner has to go along with it. I fear that the Republicans, I think that strategically it's probably the best option, but my fear is that it could be turned back around on them because there are so many of the Republicans that are rallying saying, go off the cliff, go off the cliff. Democrats are sort of sitting back and saying, just here's the rope, here's the rope. And that's what I think Obama's strategy is.
But then the president, Ryan, has to make the calculation. At what point does he want to win a political battle but lose and affect the economic war? I think people underestimate that if this happens, you don't know what happens with the markets. You don't know what happens with the international markets here. You don't know what happens with things like credit rating, et cetera. This has a habit of feeding on itself. And it's not like you know what the other side's end game actually is. This thing might drag on for a while, as much as, you know, shock and awe, okay, they made their point, they'll capitulate. I don't know what they're going to do, and I don't think Boehner knows what his party will do. So what do you think, if the president does capitulate to a degree, at what point do Democrats say, time out here? What are you doing, Mr. President?
We've got Democrats complaining about the 50-50 split that the Democrats just came up with. So the president doesn't have a lot of room to maneuver here. I mean, we're talking hundreds of thousands of jobs over this year, plenty of benefits for poor mothers and poor children. I mean, this is some really dangerous stuff to be playing games with. And the Republicans are not interested in making a deal, even at 50-50, which would be, would make nobody happy, which is sort of like an Obama thing. But I just don't understand what kind of politics the Republicans are playing here. It's not good for them.
Do it from a Democratic perspective, though, in that the president says, for crying out loud, the economy's finally turned around. I got my big initiative that I want to do, my legacy thing that I want to get to. I don't want to be spending time on this. He'd love to kick the can down the road. They don't seem to really want to let him do it. What's his play here?
It's a difficult play. It's not an easy play. I mean, if if his own party won't accept moderate things like this 50-50 proposal, then
he's almost got to let it play out and hope the public outcry forces Republicans to back down.
That might
again.
be his strongest play.
He doesn't have to play much on this, I don't think. He just has to try to deflect the attempt of Republicans to put all the blame for the sequester on him. They've been trying to.
No, but Andrew, I'm asking you a different question. I'm not asking who gets the blame, because I think in the end, the president has proved more nimble and he's boxed them in a few times, and I don't think there's any reason to think he won't. I think we all agree that. But my question is, forget about winning a political war. He's got consequences that this will bring that will, in many ways, cost him weeks, if not months, that he doesn't have as he approaches lame duck status, that he wants to do other things. What do you think happens to the gun control debate? What do you think happens to immigration? This stuff grinds to a halt.
Agreed, but he does have the one legacy on public opinion from the previous fights, the fiscal cliff and all of that, which is it's been a pox on both their houses. So Republicans are going to take a hit just as much as the president's going to.
You assume they care. Assume they care.
I think he can get them to care. As soon as he starts personalizing this, hey, Dallas, you're going to lose 20,000, 2,000 cops off your street. Hey, Seattle, you're going to lose 400 firefighters. Hey, Detroit, you're going to lose 1,000 teachers. That's the kind of stuff that plays for people at home when they can digest it and when they see it actually in front of them.
But it didn't play with the stimulus. Like all those things were true for the stimulus, and it didn't make Republicans.
But because that was not. That was, we would like to have more. That was the trying to sell people on what wasn't there, as opposed to you're going to lose this.
Yeah. Right. Here's a pink slip. That's different than what it could be.
Right.
All right. All right. We're going to take a break here, but when we come back, yes, we'll move away from the sequester. We thought we'd do it though. Eat your broccoli. All right. Now that's over. When we come back, we'll head over to the never dull state of New Jersey here in the never dull politics of the Garden State. Senator Lautenberg. He's not seeking re-election here, and he will not go quietly into the good night. Mr. Booker is more than a little too eager in some eyes to take his place, but the question is, in form and substance here, did Booker, by jumping the gun, may have welcomed some others into a primary that he wasn't happy to have join him? We're going to get into that and the perceived show of disrespect and how much it's going to hurt Mr. Booker in the long run. Stay with us.